Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Sunday Messages. And I know it's Sunday, but I am putting out a PTA episode today. So this is prayer, tarot, and the advice column that I do. If you are interested in submitting either a prayer request or a submission for the advice column, you're more than welcome to do so on my website, onyxhealing.com. So you're welcome to do that. And we will also be pulling some tarot for the week, seeing what's going on, checking everything out. And before we get started, for those of you who are new here, first of all, hello and welcome. And the second thing that I want to mention is that I phrase my prayers as I'm in agreement for. So you, as the listener, if you could also be in agreement for these things, this is how we generate more momentum for these things to unfold for anyone who's needing support. So if you feel inclined, you're more than welcome to do so, or you can just chill and listen, whatever feels good to you. You're just holding space as we're going through these prayers and the advice column, so on and so forth. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this first prayer request. This is showing up as null. And I'm not going to unpack the entire story of what's going on here, but the gist is that it looks like you're really seeking clarity. So you're wanting that aha, that lightning bolt of inspiration. So here's what I'm in agreement for regarding your career. I am in full agreement for you to feel supported and relaxed and actually get into a receptive state for inspiration. So I'm in full agreement for you to step away from the question and be an allowance of inspiration. The key thing here, and this is good for all of you to keep in mind, is that if you're constantly hounding the problem or the lack of what you want, you're not actually going to create the space for the inspiration, the clarity, the next right move to drop in. So I am in full agreement for you to step away from this and then trust fully that you are going to be met with the right next move, the right next industry that is best and right for you at this point in your life. Full agreement for that. Okay, this next one is for Francina. Yes, I am in full agreement for a fair and equitable agreement on July 21st, 2021 in Austin, Texas at 9 a.m. Full agreement for that little vortex, that portal that you're stepping into to work in your favor. And I'm in full agreement for you to anchor into the belief that everything is always working out better than you anticipate. Full agreement. Okay, this one is anonymous, but this is a situation regarding receiving some inheritance, but it also looks like you're wanting to buy a house. So here's what I'm reading. This is more of a bird's eye view perspective that I'm giving you right now. So I am in full agreement for you to detach the inheritance from the house. Treat those things energetically like they're completely separate. When you're looking at the house situation and purchasing a house, do not make it dependent on the inheritance, because then you're shutting every other door where money can flow in. So I'm in full agreement for you to receive mountains of wealth, mountains of money. How's that? I'm in full agreement for you to receive money with ease. I'm in full agreement for you to receive a home. I'm in full agreement for you to step into this chapter of home ownership for you and your partner and whoever else is living with you. I'm in full agreement for you to find comfort and your new roots. Full agreement for all of that. And I'll add one more thing. I'm in full agreement for everyone involved in this situation to chill out about the inheritance. I'm getting there's a lot of stressful energy coming off of it. Chill, relax, take a few deep breaths. It doesn't need to be packed full of stress. So get, very similar to the first prayer, get off of the subject is what I would recommend. This one is anonymous. I'm in full agreement for your husband to find a job that is for the best and highest good of everyone involved and affected. I'm in full agreement for alignment and receptivity to desires and fulfillment. I'm in full agreement for relaxation, stress-free movement through this transitional period. And I'm in full agreement for everyone to feel safe, secure, and supported as you divinely are. Full agreement. Okay, so now we are shifting into the advice column portion of this podcast episode. So I'm going to read the submission and then I'm going to unpack my answer. I struggle with decisions. I have had the pattern of asking everyone outside of myself for their advice on what I should do. Last November, I decided to buy a house without consulting 1,000,001 people. It's an amazing home, and I'm so grateful I decided to make this investment. Now I've been given an opportunity to move to Austin, and I'm experiencing fear about renting out my home and becoming a landlord. Do I sell? Do I rent it out and continue to build my wealth? Short-term versus long-term. I could use support on trusting that I will be able to find a reliable, respectful, and clean tenant while I find the perfect sun-filled home in Austin, close to the lake and nature, and also a stone's throw from the city. Alrighty. When it comes to this situation, there is one major piece that, when it feels good to you, I recommend focusing on. So right now, when you're thinking about renting your house and having a tenant live there, you're probably conjuring up nightmare tenants, right? Oh my God, what if they destroy the house? What if this falls through? What if they don't pay their rent? Blah, 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 blah. You could easily snowball into worst case scenarios if you have a lot of energy behind the fearful thoughts. Now, that's just one example, of course. The sticky thinking could also be bleeding into all the other possibilities. So, at the core of this, what it sounds like is you're afraid of making the wrong choice. And I really want to reassure you that the wrong choice doesn't exist. It's an impossibility to make the wrong choice. What I would do personally, if I were in your position, is I would completely walk away from putting pressure on myself to make any decision right now. And I would focus on getting myself in a really clear headspace, not thinking about it, but just focusing on finding clarity. So I'd be in a lot of meditation. I would probably be working out a lot. I would be enjoying myself as much as possible. I would be relaxing. I would be doing a lot of breathing. You get the idea. You want to kind of lull yourself into a really healthy, comfortable spot. And then the decision is going to drop in. The decision is going to feel like a yes. It's going to feel like a knowing. It's going to feel clear. Anytime you start playing with the different worst case scenario possibilities, you're actually getting distracted. So you've fallen out of clarity when you do that. Making a decision from trying to do damage control proactively really doesn't work in our favor, because what we end up doing is we bake the fear into the choice. And that is just always going to steer you off track. It's just not going to feel as good as when you make a choice in a really clear, aligned state. Because inversely, you're baking clarity, you're baking knowing, you're baking confidence, you're baking feeling good into the decision, and that is what compounds. So this is a matter of state. It's not a matter of what choice do I make. The reason why you struggle with making choices is because your compass goes haywire. You fill your mind with what everyone else has to say and other experiences, and it's very linear thinking. Humans love this, right? But it has nothing to do with what's actually going to unfold for you. You could take the best advice that someone could ever give you, and you could act from that space, which again, even that is pretty much exclusively fear-based. It's, I don't want to make a wrong choice. I'm afraid that I'm going to fuck up. So instead, I'm going to outsource my truth. I'm going to outsource my power to someone else. And then from their experience, I'm going to make this decision. And in reality, that you're still baking the lack of confidence and the fear into whatever choice you're making. What you do with this property doesn't matter. The only thing that matters in this situation is what you're being guided by. Are you being guided by trying to do proactive damage control, or are you being guided by your spirit? Because your spirit already knows everything that's going to unfold with whatever choice you make. So you want to get in touch with that part of yourself and let that part of yourself deliver the guidance. That's the important piece here. So you want to spend the majority of your time and the majority of your energy focusing in that direction and letting that bring you the goods. Let's say you decide to sell. If you get into a really good state of mind and you're feeling really clear and you're just allowing the information to drop in whenever it's right, because you also can't force that piece. So you want to totally not expect for it to come 5 minutes into meditation. Just chill. Don't know for the time being and let that be perfect. Because that liminal space is where all of the guidance has the opportunity to drop in, as long as you're not taking too much advice from external sources. You're going to be able to hear yourself a lot better if you clear out the clutter. If you're hearing yourself guide you to sell the house, then whatever is on the other side of that sale is going to be really, really good because you're putting your soul in the driver's seat. The same would go for getting a tenant. If you are in this really clear headspace, you get the wisdom, you get the information, the download, the guidance, it drops in and it's like, no, the tenant is ready. There's a really caring, conscientious tenant who wants to fill this home for the time being, and all of the details are just going to fill in. Just relax and welcome in this tenant. If you get that guidance, then this tenant is going to be magical because your soul is the one in charge. Your soul isn't going to guide you into a pit of hell. It's never going to do that to you. It's never going to steer you in the wrong direction. So what you really, the action that you take, all of the details are irrelevant. Short-term, long-term, irrelevant. Selling, renting, irrelevant. None of that matters. All of the potential options could turn out beautifully, but you just want to be conscious of what ingredients you're baking into the decision. And then that's where the magic comes from. If you're in a good state, you're going to get good results. If you're in a scary state, you're going to get scary results. So make your state the priority. The answer is going to come. The answer is going to be clear, and you can trust that the results of that, because you had good ingredients to begin with, is going to turn out in your favor. I think the one place that might be a little bit nerve-wracking is if you have been dependent on consulting other people in order to come to clarity or come to a decision. What I'm recommending is going to feel kind of uncomfortable. It's going to be a really uncomfortable way of doing things because the brain wants you to figure it out now. It wants you to have clarity right now. And what I'm telling you is don't worry if you don't have clarity. What I'm telling you is take yourself out of a pressure cooker, get yourself into a healthy state, a clear state, and then allow. And that goes against what your brain wants to do. So understand that what I'm recommending is probably going to feel really uncomfortable, but that's not an indication that you're doing something wrong. It's just that you're flexing a muscle that is quite atrophied. So you did fantastic. You bought the house. You did it of your own decision making. You love it. And now you're at this next jumping point where you're heading into a new adventure. So don't worry about any of these details right now because the details will clarify themselves as you get clear. The more that you hound yourself and put yourself in a pressure cooker to make a decision, the worse your decision making is going to be and the less clear you're going to feel. So seek clarity and emptiness and a sense of peace and trust. Seek that first. And then everything else from that point. So see how that works for you. Definitely keep me updated if you'd like to, submit into the box again and give us a follow-up. I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear what happens, what unfolds. No pressure to figure it all out, even if there's a deadline. Even if you have a timeline that you have to either give a response or make a move by, I would still say completely remove that from the equation. Focus exclusively on your feeling state. And then, of course, as I fully anticipate, you're going to have wild, magnificent success with whatever decision you end up making. And then you get to tell us all about it. And we get to cheer you on from afar. So that's the conclusion of this segment of the advice column on Sunday Messages. Okay, we are going to get into some tarot for the week. But before we do that, I want to take a moment to share a brand new creation with you, which I'm very, very excited about. You're probably going to hear more about it in the coming weeks. But over the years, I've had a lot of questions about power, about boundaries, about feeling in control rather than being swept away in whatever circumstances are sitting right in front of your face in the present moment. And really being able to hold your standards fully and completely, like really taking command over your life experience and what you have unfolding. And if we really look at this is healthy queen energy. This is the queen archetype that I'm describing, right? And so many people would ask for requests like, can you do a class on confidence? Can you do a class on like, I don't know, some bad bitch energy? That's what we want. And so I've been sitting with this for such a long time because I know there is a lot of demand, but it's also very multi-dimensional. It's not just a singular component. And so I have created the Art of Rulership, which is a 2-week intensive with me. So really, the bulk of this is taking you from people-pleasing, getting swept away into environmental circumstances, really in a position where you might be more destabilized than you would like to be, or dropping your power a little bit too often, saying yes to things you want to say no to, right? All of these dynamics that can really steer you out of whack and carry you out of alignment. And one of the favorite things that my clients talk about all the time is how much they enjoy my medieval analogies, because I do have a lot of them. You know, like treasure and dragons and kingdoms and that type of thing. And so I've really designed it in a way that you're going to be seeing your life as an ecosystem. It's a delicate ecosystem that you want to keep as healthy as humanly possible. You want to keep it squeaky clean. And so over the course of 2 weeks, it's going to be shifting you out of any people pleasing. It's going to be shifting you out of any disempowering patterns and moving you into taking full command over your kingdom, looking at the full scope of the ecosystem of your life, and not only being able to identify when a boundary needs to be set in place, how to differentiate, you know, what's your responsibility, what's not, what's essential, what's not, being able to tease a lot of these pieces apart, but also moving you into greater leadership. So holding the standards of the quality of relationships and experiences that you want to have. So it goes in depth on the location of your power, how you're wielding your power, how you're using your power, where it's living in your body, where it's living in your auric field, how you can use that to your advantage, how you can use that for the relationships in your life, and also supporting, like I mentioned, the ecosystem that you have in your world, because that's really what your life is. It's an ecosystem. It's your creation. You're in charge. And then not only that, but it's heavily based in standards, in what your vision is for your life, what your legacy is, what you're creating, and holding your power in a way that brings the best out of people around you. So that's really what this is about, is leading in a way that extracts the best possible experience from the people in your life, from your friends, from your clients or your employer or whoever you have in your vicinity, your in-laws, I don't know. But the way that this course is positioned is to just really dig into the meat, get your vision crystal clear, and then understanding how to work with power. So that begins in early August, and if you'd like to check that out, go to onyxhealing.com/rulership. It will also be in the description box or the show notes, depending on where you're listening to this. And I'm excited for this container. It's been a long time coming, and I'm so excited to see everyone who's gonna jump inside. Okay, let's dive into this tarot, shall we? I'm pulling 3 cards at the moment. So the first 2 that have come up are the Page of Rods and the Queen of Cups. And then lastly, we have the Ace of Rods. So there's a couple of things. One, with the Page of Rods, I'm immediately getting that there might be some, I want to call it spring cleaning. So there's an element of taking inventory this week. This doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be going through your closet literally, but it's more of if you're noticing some things that are stale, that really aren't resonating with you anymore, that need to be recycled or replaced, or there's a fresh expansion that is coming into vision, just own it. Like, there's no reason to convince yourself to stop expanding. That's never going to happen. So the Page of Rods is just giving you permission to outgrow things. That's really a major theme that's coming through. So let it be. If you're not feeling resonant with something, just own it. Be okay with it. Everything's going to be fine. You can own the new desire. The other thing with the Queen of Cups is just knowing, like we talked about in the advice segment, is state is everything. State is everything. State is what helps you navigate things. State is what helps you create. Your state is ultimately what provides contrast, right? If something makes you feel like shit, you're not going to want that again. So owning your feelings as a compass, letting them be a guide. And I know I've talked about this many times, but this week is really about refining your feelings about whatever you have going on. So if it's making you feel like shit, you're out of alignment, step away from it, get into a better state, then return to the subject. It's just making that a consistent habit within yourself. And so this week, particularly with the Page of Rods saying, you're evaluating things, you're taking inventory. There's probably going to be things that you feel really awesome about. And then there's going to be things where you're like, I'm ready for something fresh, new, different, so on and so forth. The Queen of Cups is just complementing this by letting your feelings be the compass. It's the barometer for what you want to do in that moment. Right? Do you want to go deeper into feeling good? Do you want to keep doing what you're doing because it feels so good? Do you want to keep fantasizing about what you're fantasizing about because it really works and it feels good and it's really expansive? Or is it guiding you to lay off, self-care? If you want more details on that, go listen to the mood episode that I did because I really talked about that in depth. And then the Ace of Rods is speaking to your confidence. So here's the thing, and I see people get tripped up on this all the time. So let's say you're feeling confident, you're feeling great, you're looking forward to things, you're feeling really excited and trusting in what's unfolding, and then something external knocks you off balance or makes you feel bad, or you get the idea. There's something that doesn't go your way in any given moment. A lot of people will take that one instant, that one moment in time, that singular feeling that didn't feel so hot or was just showing you what you don't want, and then they leak that into everything else. And so then all of a sudden your desire, you metaphorically drop the ball. You say, well, forget it then. I'm just not going to want. I'm just going to blah, blah, blah. You kind of turn into a sourpuss. You got to watch that shit for real. Because that's misalignment leakage. Okay, and you don't want to bleed that into every other area of your life because there's one thing that, is a little blip on your radar. So the Ace of Rods is giving you this big boost of keep holding the ball, keep holding the vision, keep holding your desire. Don't drop it just because. If you step in mud, there's no reason to track it through the whole house. Just take your shoes off and give them a good cleaning. So that is the big point of focus this week. Don't track mud all over the house. Isolate the mess. And I want to be clear, I'm not forecasting that there's going to be all these things that make you feel bad. No. This can be something so subtle as I was having a really good day, and then all of a sudden I'm feeling kind of meh, and then letting that meh be an indication of what you're creating. It's not. It's just a temporary feeling. It's a temporary mood. And as always, this is a rule that applies all the time, not just this week. Remember and remind yourself, only focus on your desires when you're feeling good. If you're not feeling good, if you're feeling like shit, you need to stay away from your desires. Don't think about it because you're going to have that misalignment leakage bleed into it. So focus on desires when you're feeling good. Anything that isn't feeling good is an indication that you want to work on your state. You want to master your state. You want to feel just 1% better, just a little bit better. It's weird because this really does remind me of the mood episode that I did. This reading is translating that way a lot. And there's a lot of blue in all of these cards. And so it is very bluesy. It is very emotional, very moody. We've got the tail end of Cancer season. We've just got some stuff going on. So let your feelings work for you, not against you. That's the main thing, and this is really hard to remember in the thick of it, in the moment, but that's going to be the best way to go about this. All right, my beautiful friends. I'm so glad you've taken some time to listen and hang out with me today. So, first order of business, if you want to submit a prayer, if you want to submit an advice column submission, go to the description box, go to the show notes, wherever you're listening to this, and we can hook it up. If you feel inspired to donate, then that is also on the prayer request page, or you can go to onyxhealing.com/donate and send some love, send some TLC my way. It is always appreciated and super fun to receive from you all. And other than that, I hope you have a fantastic time. If you have any questions about the art of rulership, feel free to hit me up. Send an email to hello@onyxhealing.com. We're going to have a good time. We start early August. And that's a wrap. That's all I've got for you today. Have a good one, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.